Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Head in the Cloud, Heart in the Community. I am only one of your guest hosts. My name is Holly Lehman, and I am so happy to be back. I am based in Seattle, Washington, but as we know, I never, ever travel alone. I am always virtually traveling with my partner in fun and in community, Isidora.
Hey there, Holly. Thank you very much for the handover. Hey, everyone, and hello from Switzerland. So excited for this episode of Head in the Cloud, Heart in the Community, as we have two very special guests from our community. We're going to head over to Belgium, and we're going to head over to Sweden. So let's get going. Let's first start with, what's my favorite country? No, just kidding. Let's start with Dieter. Please say hi and introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, my name is Dieter. For those people who don't know me yet, if you can spell my last name, you can find me online. I'm from Belgium, which for some people is a city between Amsterdam and Paris. But we are actually in Europe, the home of chocolate Belgian waffles.
No. Don't go there. That's Toblerone.
So it's 1 minute 30, so that's fine already. Take two. And well, you're going to learn a lot about me, but I've seen so many people in the community, so I'm so thrilled to be here. And I'm just, throwing the stick to Sweden. So hold on, here it comes.
And that I catch it. All right, so nice meeting you all. My name is Robert, in Sweden, yeah. And probably you know what Sweden is, or what the location is. It's quite up north. We have some sunshine. We have not polar bears roaming the streets. That's a lie. But we have a lot of forest, and we also love the community. And I'm very happy to be here today.
Well, we are so excited to have the two of you. I knew this was going to be an entertaining interview today, so I hope everybody has their popcorn and they're ready for a lot of laughter. The two of you have inspired me, have inspired Izzy, and inspired the community with the work that you do. For those that are listening, I always found it interesting that both of you own your own consultancy businesses. And I would love to know, let the people know that are listening in and they're thinking about, everyone's making changes in their careers lately. What is it like to start up a business? I mean, tell us a little bit about your consultancy businesses, what your brand name is, what you're focused on, and, some of the, tips and tricks for doing your own startup.
Sure.
Who goes first?
Take it away.
You go first. Bring it on, Belgium.
I feel the pressure, I feel the pressure.
You should.
Well, my company is, let's see, obvious, which is quite obvious, pun intended. And we basically support a lot of companies with their modern workplace and road to Azure cloud. And we are a Microsoft-centric partner. And if I can give it a couple of tips, I mean, I have been freelance for 20 years. In 2 weeks, I celebrate my 20th year as a freelance. So that's woohoo, applause for me. Ooh, I actually got an applause. And if I can give 2 tips, basically, it's be patient. Nothing is built overnight. And second, if you need to take a decision, try to take the decision with the facts and the aspects you have at the time you take the decision. There's no point in wasting energy in trying to, let's say, point or find every scenario for a decision. You can always change a decision later, but you need to make sure that you make a decision that you stick with it. And never lose the atmosphere in the company. The atmosphere in a company is key of keeping your employees happy and making sure that everything is just running smoothly. There are always bumps in the road, but in the end, we always try to make a full team. And if you want to create a team, make sure that you hire on character and not on knowledge. Because knowledge you can actually gain, or you can create an atmosphere where people can gain knowledge, but you don't want to change a person. Those are the 3 things. And if I look at it, if we at one point interview someone, there are 3 key values I always give. It's like, if you don't tell us, we can't keep it in account. There's always no, you always have no in your pocket. You can get a yes. And in the end, it all comes down to trust. I mean, if I trust you, you trust me, it all works and it all comes together. So, I mean, those are my key points where I try to, well, convince people to work for us. And at this point, we are with 15 employees. So we have a huge, an awesome team where we really try to help each other and be there for each other. So those are my main key goals and my main things I want to give if you want to start a company. And don't be afraid. Failing is an option. And after failing, there's always retrying. If you stand up after a failure, it's always better than just sit back and always think what you did wrong instead of trying to learn from your mistakes. I made mistakes in the 20 years that I have been entrepreneur, freelance, whatever, fancy buzzwords. But in the end, it always comes down to follow your gut. And in the end, don't listen or don't try to think hard about what people think about you or whatever. I mean, if Robert and I are somewhere, we are very loud and noisy sometimes, and
no, not
it's
no
not,
way.
it's not for everyone, but still, I mean, we just have fun.
Well,
Robert,
I think those are three, pieces of advice that anybody should listen to. And I don't know, it's a hard act to follow, Robert. Go for it. What about you? Tell us about your company, what you're focused on, and 2 or 3 tips and tricks that you would share.
Sure. So Sumner is a company that is focused on restore capabilities. Okay. So we are not touching or speaking about backups because you don't want to do backups, you want to do restores, right? So that's the main intention. So we are a company with clients in Belgium, over there, yes, and over in America, around Europe. And our goal is to provide, really, really good services when it comes to restore capabilities for SaaS services like 365, Azure, Google, Salesforce, ServiceNow, and so on and so forth. And we are very interested in understanding our clients and really, really walk the extra mile for them. Because in the very end, as Deer mentioned, it's all about relation and it's all about trust, right? Mm-hmm. We are the last resort when something bad happens, and we need to be the partner that people can rely on, and we take that very seriously. So that also comes to the fact when it comes to running a company. So Sumner was founded by me and my wife Hannah in 2015. We were then a consultant company. I traveled the globe doing business continuity work or BCP planning. But we got twins, so we ended up with 3 kids quite fast. So we need to reorganize the family situation a bit. So we started another company, Sumner Provider, that was, taking down the consultancy and pushing for providing services instead. And when it comes to running a company, I mean, as Dieter mentioned, I mean, don't be afraid to, bump into challenge and maybe do some, maybe some bad decisions. I mean, we all do bad decisions. As Dieter mentioned, no one is flawless, right? I know for sure that I'm not, neither private nor professional. There is always things that can be improved and so on and so forth. And I mean, what we focus on when it comes to how we choose to run Sumner, it's all about relation, trust, and really have a really tight team. Seeing each and every people, like every morning we hug. And every time we do. Like,
can you hug the guy behind you?
Every morning we hug, right? Yeah, thumbs up, boom. And I mean, when we say hi, we give each other a big hug. And I mean, we are focusing on doing, the family feeling, right? Because that also is identified by our clients, that they really know that they're part of the Sumner family. And since we have a really good time at work, people see that. They notice that. And I mean, and I think that is so important, focusing on the persons, because if I didn't have Emil, it sucks, right?
Yeah.
And if I can make his day better, I mean, wow, that's great. And the next part is, of course, you need money. You need to pay your invoices. You need to have food on the table in the very end, of course. But that should never be your, what do you say, driving factor or your major goal. If you're doing a good job and you really care about what you do and you have pride in what you do, I mean, that comes along the way. So focus on the right thing. That's building a good relation with partners like me and Dieter. We doing a lot of fun stuff together also, both private. That include often a lot of beer, but it's okay. But then also professional, because he do stuff that I don't have a clue about, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And together we are stronger, right? So that's the third thing. Partner up.
Mhm.
Accept that you don't know everything, because no one does. And those company who claims that they know everything, in the very end, they don't know squat.
Mhm.
They're more like generalists.
That's some very, very powerful advice. Definitely good to hear from you both. And as you both, burst with amount of knowledge, of course, each in your own expertise and in your own field, you also not only do that as a consulting, but you also do that in your spare time for the community, which means sharing knowledge with others to make others better, indeed, to achieve the goals that you mentioned before. So one of the gigs you have coming up together, which I'm really, really excited about, you will speak together at Experts Live Europe on September 18, 20, 2023 in Prague. Can you tell us a bit more about what will you present together, and for people attending, why should they come to your session, and what can they learn in your session?
It will be
Dieter?
mayhem. It will
Yeah.
be mayhem.
Mayhem and a lot of fun.
Uh-huh. Well, it's one of those sessions that I really wanted to do for a long time, and that's sharing experience, not really go deep down technical into things, but our session is the top 10 things that people make as a mistake when going to the cloud, which I've seen so many people do. Not me, of course, but a friend of a friend, of course.
You heard somewhere that someone.
Somewhere, everywhere I come, I hear myths and whatsoever. So and those top 10 mistakes, if we can actually have someone avoid one of the 10 mistakes, that's already a good thing. But there are so many things that, so many people, I'm not going to spoil all the 10 mistakes, because then we have to write another session, Robert, but still. But still, there are so many things that, if you really, from my personal experience, if you really see, and if you really see those things happening and you can avoid that with someone, that's awesome. And that's what we're going to try to do. Of course, it's going to be a fun session as well. But the goal is that people walk out of the door and they, remember those 10 mistakes, to not make them, or see when they are made and try to avoid them or whatever, or just making sure that they have sometimes the pause button to see that they're doing this wrong, and that they have to maybe go down a different route, or maybe find someone to help or whatever, instead of costing the company money, themselves money, and maybe having a bad project, which is, we all know how a bad project resonates. So, but that's our session.
Yeah. And if we can help people by sharing our knowledge, that's great. And as Dieter mentioned, there's so many things to consider. Regardless of whatever SaaS provider is saying that, we do this, we do that. And then there's real life, right? And you need to adapt to the limitation that is actually there in any public cloud. It doesn't matter if it's green, blue, yellow, I don't care. There are limitations, and we want to contribute. We want to educate the attendees regarding those limitations, because when you have moved a bunch of data to a public cloud service provider, and then you realize that, Jax, there's no way back. We done it all wrong. That's a bad situation. And if we can help people, perfect.
And I think if anyone listening hasn't seen the two of you present before, you're missing out, because what I always love is that you make tech fun. And I think that's what people forget, is that you can be in the tech community, you can go deep into tech and have discussions, but then have fun. Like when you guys were fake, taking shots of vodka, right? And so
fake vodka, Dieter, come on.
Yeah,
you gave me the real vodka.
So I have a question for people that are watching, kind of like how Izzy and I got together and we co-present. How did the two of you come together? You're two different companies, two different, locations. How did you come together and decide, let's co-present? I want to hear your story. Robert, you take it from here. And then Dieter, you get to tell your side of it.
Nice.
So,
okay.
It's Belgium and Sweden. Let's go.
All right. So, there. Yeah, there. No, yeah. Thank you. So, I guess a bunch of years, Dieter, we met in Redmond at an MVP summit. That is where the two forces of Europe connected. And we kind of quickly, understood that this guy is as messed up as I am. So So we ended up actually just, starting to have a really, really fun. We had good conversations. We had a ton of laughs. And that was I would say a starting point of a beautiful friendship, to be honest. I mean, Dieter is like, he's my brother from another mother. I mean, he's a close friend of mine. And the fun part is that it's kind of interesting how you simply just connect with people, and it feels like you know them for a lifetime, right? So we send some text messages like Friday evenings and blah 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 and stuff like that, and have a good time. Have I answered the question? I'm not really sure, but I've talked a lot.
And then, Dieter, what I would like to know for people listening, what's the benefit of having a co-presenter, co-host for people that are, a lot of people present on their own, but there's a huge benefit of pulling people in and sharing the stage in your passion. So what would that be?
Well, to be honest, before I started doing sessions with Robert, I wasn't really keen of doing co-present sessions, because it's always like, who's doing the slide deck? What are the accents? Who's taking which slide? So it takes a lot of more work to actually get the sessions done. But with Robert, it's like sometimes, I mean, I can probably say this live, but then again, we just make our PowerPoint and then we sit together for, let's say, an hour or something, and we just vice versa. And then the last 5 minutes, we go like, oh, we need to do something about the session.
But we are prepared for Prague, you see?
Yeah.
No worries.
All good. You still have some time.
But the thing is,
I also literally just thought, Dieter, it's been 10 years that I saw you present for the first time. That must have been 2013 at Systems and the Universe. I think we were in Houston. Was it Austin? No, Houston.
That was actually quite funny, because that was my first international session, I think, due to winning the SU Jedi way back in 2014 or 13, I think. But, well, just doing a session with Robert, it's like an hour of fun, meaning we finish each other's sentences. It's fine. It's all here.
It's all in the heart.
No, but the thing is, I mean, we just go on stage and there's no competition or whatsoever. No. Because sometimes with co-speakers, there's always someone who wants to emphasize this or emphasize that. And then at the end, you go like, oh, I wanted to tell it and you told it and something. But we just, we connect so good on stage, and we just try to transfer that to the audience. That's it. I mean, everyone can read online how to install something with a tutorial, but it's the experience. It's just taking away, let's say, the takeaways of being there and seeing people in person. That's also the huge thing I missed during the COVID, because just talking to a screen is completely different than just talking on stage and then interact with people. And then just most of the time the last time we went to Experts Live Europe, we just sat down on the first bench, not as a speaker, but just as an attendee. And we asked people, what do you think? What's your experience? So it's a very interactive session. And I believe that we can probably do sessions without any slides whatsoever, and people will
Yep.
still be very, very
Cool.
tempted or very engaged or whatever. So that's the cool thing. That's the chemistry. And it all started, like Robert said, at the MVP Summit. And well, we started doing some accents, some Italian, some Russian, whatsoever, just some fun things.
Yeah.
And well, it just connected. And it's pretty cool that in these days you can stay globally connected via Teams or just via sending text or whatever. So that's not
you're still an MSN Messenger.
no, ICQ, by the way.
ICQ.
I still know my number of ICQ by
Good, guys. So Robert already mentioned it a bit before, right? Having twins and a third child. So you're both fathers. You're both active in community. You're both running your own company. Holly is a mother of two lovely girls. I became a mother of a girl as well. So we can all call each other parents. But I'm curious to hear from your side, being a father, being a parent. How do you manage like life with kids and community and your own business and wife and family and everything else?
Belgium, you go first.
Well, I see myself as a full-time COO, meaning during the day I'm doing my business and people can well take my time. But when I come home, let's say at 6:30, my cell phone goes into my office, and then it's family time until 8:30 ish. I take my cell phone and see that there are some messages whatsoever, and then my cell phone goes back into my office. Because if you don't time box that time, to be honest, you're just working 24/7. During the weekends, I try to actually not work, but from time to time, I'm doing this anyway. But then again, I'm doing this when everybody's asleep, because my productive hours are between 10:30 and 1:30 in the morning, when everything is quiet. So that's a plus. But it takes just time boxing, and it also takes a good significant other to actually make sure that I have 3 agendas to manage. I have a family agenda, I have a business agenda, and then I have a personal agenda, to be honest. So, and a lot of things are just coming and going, but there are always unforeseen circumstances, and then you need to make choices. I mean, those choices from time to time, when you're at a client and school calls that my daughter fell and she needs to go to the hospital, of course, you jump up and that's it. So it all comes down to, almost time management. It's the same thing as running a business, running a family. There are always unforeseen things, and it's up to you to actually make sure that they all fit in. I'm not saying the schedule, because that sounds like I'm very schedule-y, but then again, it all comes down to making that time and taking that time, because if you don't take that time, in a blink of an eye, they're 14 at this point, and the cool thing is they now have a cell phone, so they text me either they're in school or they're just upstairs. So it's always an open line of communication, which is cool. But that's it. Robert, do you have anything to share with your 3 lovely boys?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to consider what is the last thing that you want to lose and can afford to lose. My family is not an option of losing. So they are my primary and will always be my primary focus. I'm blessed with having a beautiful wife that is awesome, that also works at Sumner. Keep it to the company. But
and she is beautiful.
But the thing is, what's really important is, as Dieter mentioned, it's a lot. And it is a lot. And I mean, it is really a lot. But having a partner that you can rely on, and, someone that says, I got you back. No worries. Focus on the job. I'll take the boys for today. No worries. There's great. And of course, you got to give that back, right? That's so important. And that's how we can cope with quite a lot of load regarding work. And of course, the extended family at the Sumner office. I mean, we all really care of each other. So, I mean, we're always assisting, helping each other. Also, on the private side, and it's really important. And I mean, all my three boys, they play hockey, and I mean, it's a lot of traveling as a hockey parent to different arenas and competitions and stuff like that. But yeah, that's life. Just deal with it. I wouldn't miss that for a world. I could I'd love to lose $1 million deal just to be part of my kids' um, activities.
But you have
Every
such a
single
good
day.
partnership, you don't need to lose that $1 million deal, right?
I would never put money in front of the family. That is
I
like,
love that you have this great partnership where you support each other
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
able to make it all work. And I
yeah,
think that that's beautiful sentiment and how you partner together. You support her,
yep.
vice versa.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think that
Because
that's one thing that we're missing in the bigger companies is this love for our family and
yep,
love for our employees. So
yep.
I think it's all very well summed up. And I love that both of you have such a heart around all of that you're doing. So before we wrap, Izzy, you have a very important question that I want to make sure everybody hears. So let's talk about why people should attend Experts Live.
Oh, well, you want me to answer? No, just kidding. No. Let's head over to the guys. Well, why should they attend to come meet you or the other speakers at the at the Ask the Experts area or in the session?
Sure. I mean, it's quite easy answer. I mean, Experts Live is a really, really community-driven conference where the attendees are close to the speakers. And I mean, me and Dieter, we're quite easy to scope in an audience, no worries. And people should never be afraid of approaching the speakers and say, hey, I have a question. I mean, there's no reason to be shy. We're all there because we love the community. We love the conference and the content, and we want to interact with people. And that is a key thing, I think, Dieter, for this Experts Live. And it's a very, it's a lot of love.
Experts Live is big enough to actually always find a session that you like.
Yeah.
It's small enough to actually interact really with the attendees. And that's the mixture, basically. You can have so many events where there are 1,000 people or 2,000 people, and then you're always missing out on people. But Experts Live really kept it on that mark that you have a lot of sessions, but still always the venue as well. Everybody's coming back into the same area. So it's quite easy to spot someone or to meet or just have a chat or whatever. There's no speaker room where speakers go in and go like, I'm a speaker. Nobody can enter this room. They put up their top hats and they go like, we're in the speaker room. But there is no speaker room. We're all approachable, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's also cool that, I mean, you have a speaker shirt and then your name is on there, so people can really approach it. They don't have to, they don't need to pretend that they know your name and then try to see the name on the label. Which is always backwards, by the way. It's always backwards.
Unless you have double-sided badges.
See?
And
everything has been taught.
1 minute left. Izzy, if anybody should answer that question, I'm going to ask you to let the audience hear why you think people should attend Experts Live.
Oh, wow. Yes. Well, I could sum up a long list, but let's just keep it here to the show because Holly's going to be there. Robert is going to be there. Dieter is going to be there. I'm going to be there. So I hope that's already reason
I think
to come hang out and have fun.
Well, thank you, Robert and Dieter, for virtually joining us and just sharing your passion for community, most importantly, family, and for doing what you do every single day. So thank you for joining us, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the March Head in the Cloud, Heart in the Community. We'll see you soon.
We always close it with our hearts, so we ask the boys to join us. Yeah, well done.
It's mirrored. Oh my God. You have to pop.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you around. Hold your belly for 45 minutes.
All right. Are we ready?
No,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Okay.